to Good Big Orange Talk. I'm host Smokey Vaughn. We got a special guest in here. Everybody give Kyle a warm welcoming. And of course, as always, we got our guy, Mr. Happy Hour. All right, guys, we got a few things to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we think the CFP messed up on the final toll whenever we got, a blowout in our championship game. We're going to talk about the AP polls and the end of the season and a road certainly early prediction on us here. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right on into it. Mr. Happy Hour, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good, buddy. How are you?
Doing good. And Colin, how you doing, bud? It's nice to see a new face in here.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.
You're our first official guest, bro.
Oh, nice. It is all uphill from here.
Yes, sir.
That's right. So I'm gonna open us up here with the CFP. Kind of, I don't know, man. You guys chirp in too. Just kind of come in behind. It doesn't matter either way. I really think that they messed up putting old TCU in there. I mean, look, they had a phenomenal year. I'm not gonna downplay that. Phenomenal year. Just but they had no business stepping in the ring with the dogs. I mean, as much as I'm a dog hater, they took care of business, and I turned the game off about 3 minutes after the second quarter started because it was over at the beginning before it ever started. I think that the Bulldogs got the trophy handed to them even before the game started.
Yeah, it seemed like you got off the buses.
Yeah, no. TCU played their worst game. Georgia played their best game of the entire year, and that's just how it went. But let's go ahead here, Mr. Happy Hour. Pop us off, give us your opinions, and then, Kyle, we'll go ahead and get you on this segment too, bud.
Well, I want to start by saying if you go back and look at the schedules, what about TCU other than at the time of the wins is significant? Because if you go back and you look at their schedule, they have, I think, maybe 2 in the regular season that are in the top 25 at the end of the season. I want to say it's Penn State and Texas. They barely beat Texas. That was honestly, it seemed like Texas did everything that they could to hand the game over instead of trying to win it. It was terrible. Like, the offense could not get going. The best part of their offense was Bijan Robertson, and even he didn't have that spectacular of a game. And then you got Kansas State, where they split a 1-1 or a 2-game series, and they lost the game that, in my opinion, mattered most. So, and then outside of the Michigan game, which honestly they should have probably lost because you replayed the no-call touchdown, and which really honestly should have been called a touchdown. I don't know if we all watched that, but he didn't have possession of it before his butt touched the ground. He gained possession once he crossed the plane once he crossed the plane. So really, it should have been a touchdown. So really, honestly, did TCU really deserve to be in the national championship? I don't think so. And then you have Michigan outside of Ohio State, which was a great win. What other win did they have outside of Penn State? And then the same thing could be said for Ohio State. Now, when you go and look at all of the top 25 wins that are top 25 after the season, nobody's body of work beats Tennessee. Name one. Can anybody give me a logical answer to that?
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's Bama, LSU, and Pitt. The only kind of questionable win was Pitt in those, but at the same time, that was at the beginning of the season. So you're still kind of figuring shit out. So I don't know. You have a clusterfuck of win losses. I mean, you have Georgia, who ended up beating Ohio State, TCU. Ohio State ended up beating Michigan. TCU ended up beating Michigan. Kansas State ended up beating TCU, and then Bama ended up beating Kansas State in the bowl game. So I mean, it's and then then Tennessee ended up beating Bama. So it's like what were the criteria? Like there was clearly a criteria before the Final Four, right? It's supposed to be the body of work, the quality of wins. I think maybe the quality of losses, along with you take in consideration the overall record. Who beats Tennessee in all that? It's a legitimate question. Who beats Tennessee's body?
I don't think anyone does. There's, I'm biased. I'll admit that, but like,
well, every fan base is biased to a point,
Yeah, but like, and it's not just that we won; it's that the games that we did win were in spectacular fashion.
Absolutely, like the majority of our games were by 20-something points or more.
We typically, I'll say it this way: if we had played the second half the way we played first halves, we would have broke every scoring record in football.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did, I think, in 3 offensive categories.
Yeah, for me going into the season, LSU was a trap game because it's tough to play at Death Valley. That's a rowdy bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
Our saving grace, I believe, was that it was played at noon and not at 7:30 at night. But we still would have won that. But when you make the LSU faithful leave their stadium at halftime, leave their house at halftime,
like you could hear your fan base yell "Law Fight" and Rocky Top and all that shit.
Exactly. They are because they're a very loyal fan base at
LSU. Oh yeah.
They don't leave much. That they left early in that one.
Yeah.
It's just I'm sitting here going through the schedules. I think Georgia, Michigan, you had to put in no matter what. They were undefeated. They won their conferences. They had to go,
and they had the best wins.
Exactly.
Outside of it, yeah, I agree with that.
So, the argument for TCU going in, I won't say that they didn't deserve to go entirely.
Absolutely.
I just don't think they were one of the best teams.
No.
But from a voter standpoint, they won their conference. It's tradition.
No, they didn't.
I thought they did.
They played in the conference championship.
I'm sorry.
No. He's talking about the West. They did win the West. You're talking about LSU?
No. For
TCU.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. They lost that.
I forgot. They lost that to Kansas State the second time around. So
the game mattered.
Totally forgot about that part. Yeah, screw it. It should have been us.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's killing me is at the time that they won their games, they had probably a better body of work. If you're going based off of just beating your ranked opponents, they might have had a better record than Tennessee. I would give them that. But at the same time, it's look at the quality of the win. They trailed almost all of their games. They had maybe 3 to 4 games where they actually, for me, a dominated game is if you win by 20 to 21 points. 3 touchdowns or so. That's a domination. They have 2 or 3 games where they actually clearly dominated. And they didn't win by the skin of their teeth. And then you have the majority of their games where they trailed and they came back. Now you can argue and say, well, that is a good team fighting to win. You could argue that. Well, then, but where was the argument for Tennessee when they barely beat Pitt, when they barely beat Florida, when they beat Alabama?
I'll say this, and this is the excuse that I hate the most throughout this entire ordeal. When I'm going to preface this first. Going into it, we should have handled business at South Carolina. Like
I agree.
it's our fault. We didn't do what we were supposed to do on our end. That's
I have
where
a
the
question
conversation's
after you make your point. I do have a question about that after you make your point, but
Okay.
continue.
So my biggest gripe on this whole deal is that when Hendon Hooker went down, we were immediately removed from every possibility out there, and the thought process was oh, Hooker's gone, they're done, and I get that Hooker was a
I
big
understand that to a degree, yeah.
to a degree, but when you put Joe Milton out there and you put up 60 on a team that went toe to toe with Florida the week
Where Hooker had been doing all season to all the other similar teams.
exactly, I don't think it was a fair deal for that argument. I'll give you the conference deals. I'll give you a couple things. I can't give you the quarterback got hurt, so we assume you're not good anymore.
Once that Vanderbilt game happened, that argument should have been over.
Exactly.
I mean, I get the rushing attack helped, but at the same time, it didn't matter because he didn't turn the ball over where it could have been so easy to turn the ball over in that type of weather. And I mean, he completed majority of his passes. So
and I was in Nashville that night. It was very rainy and it was very wet.
It was ugly, yeah. But good.
But no, that was it. And I mean, if anything, in hindsight, I think Joe Milton beating Clemson with the backup receivers. No Tillman, no Hyatt.
Brew is the only starter.
Yes.
True starter. Yeah.
And I mean, you could count Keaton as a halftime starter because he filled in so much for Tillman throughout the year. But
Phenomenal player.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if we beat Clemson with the backups, we would have dog walked them if we had the starters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So my question about the South Carolina game is, do you think there was a divide in the locker room with the whole Jeremy Banks and Hendon Hooker and the NIL and all that bullshit?
I don't believe the NIL argument, personally. I do think there was an issue because now I'll say this too: weird shit happens in Columbia. That I think it was the Jalen Hurts ordeal back in 2016 when we went off the rails there, and just all of a sudden he's like, "I'm not going back in." But in this case though, I'm not a Spencer Rattler believer. I didn't like him in high school. I didn't like him.
He's a high quarterback. I'll give him that. But Jesus, it seems like all of the mediocre quarterbacks this year that wasn't projected to do shit seem to have their best fucking game against us.
And that's normally how it goes for us traditionally. Like it's either the scrub or there's a backup that comes in and we just make him look like an all-star.
Yep.
But,
every time, I tell you what, every single time, guys.
That was the hardest part of the SEC championship weekend was that they kept bringing up the LSU Tennessee game from '99, and they're like, oh well, they could have had 2 back-to-backs, and the whole time I'm like, yes, thank you for bringing back the painful memories. What would we do without you, ESPN? But no, something was up there with Banks. I'm obviously we're not insiders and we don't know, but if I'm a claim manager, so if I look at something and I have to tell you something's off, and where it is, talent was there. We just didn't show. We just didn't show up to play
on defense more than anything. Like the thing is, we still scored 38 fucking points. We still scored the average that we had been averaging all game long. In any other situation, that would have been enough points to win a game. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So I think that there was a divide too, because for one, although our secondary is abysmal as hell, it's terrible. That even Georgia or Bama didn't score that many. Like Bama still scored it, but they have a prolific offense. Mm-hmm. South Carolina didn't do that to anybody else all season long that I can remember. So, but I don't know if you watch Locked On Vols, Eric Kane, but I watch a lot of him, a lot of talk of Vols with Dougie Bentley and all that. And both said that there was no speculation at all, or there was no real divide in the locker room. It was just over the whole NIL thing and all that. And I'm over here, and not doing the push-ups over stepping over the power tee.
Right.
But like, I've not seen another game where you have Kamal Hadden. Like, I get there's jawing. It's a competitive sport. You're imposing your will and all that. You know, I get there's jawing, but there was just a lot of jawing from Kamal Hadden, who kept getting burned. Like, it just, yeah. And then like there's one play where I remember distinctly where he was like, he gave cushion. I give giving cushion is one thing, but he was 10 yards away by the time the guy crossed the first down marker, before he even decided, he caught the ball before he even decided to try to make the play.
Yeah.
What in the head? It's like they purposely gave the game. I don't know.
And you know, to a certain degree, you know, we kind of play a bend, don't break defense to begin with. But
Yeah.
in that game, we couldn't stop anybody. So we had to give them an 8-yard cushion every time something happened. You know, it was a frustrating ordeal, but and you know, it's funny you mentioned the whole trash talking deal. Like, you know, this is really the first year where, a little bit last year, where some of our kids feel confident enough to kind of, you know, throw up.
Well, they bought it.
Yeah. You know, and you know, a lot of people don't like the jawing and whatnot, but you know, the kids buy into that, and that motivates them. So.
Yeah.
Have at it, but I was like you. Every time our kid doing the most trash talking was the one getting burnt the most. Like you can't have it both ways. You got to pick one.
Like if you're getting burned, dude, just shut the fuck up and earn the right to talk shit. But he did.
Exactly. If you're going to talk it, line up and stay with him.
Yeah,
you gotta be a, you know. If you're going to do it, you got to really do it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's definitely it's a crazy league every year, right? But it gets a little bit crazier every year, and it's getting better and better and better. But, you know, I just wanted to take a moment here real quick, just a brief, you know, if you guys are listening on YouTube, please give us a subscribe, a share, hit the bell button for notifications that we got a new video coming up. We'll be doing more lives once we get the hang of things. Again, you know, we are new to this. We're not professional by no means. We want you guys to come in. We want, just like how Kyle did tonight, we want that to continue with more people. We could have more people, more shows.
Any fan base.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any fan base. Kyle is the Tennessee guy, but you don't have to be a Tennessee guy. You could be Georgia, Florida, Alabama. We don't care. I mean, we hate them all, but, you know. But anyways, guys, we're going to move over to the next segment where we're standing at right now in the polls for the top 1 to 25. Of course, we've got Georgia here at number 1 at 15-0. I don't know how TCU stayed in at number 2 after that beating, but they definitely there. I don't know how that happened. We got Michigan at number 3. I think that they probably should have bumped out of the top 5, in my opinion. Again, that is my opinion. Yeah, well, now see, what's going to end up happening is that TCU, Michigan, and Ohio State, they're going to drop once the season pulls in. I want to say that Tennessee is either going to stay where they're at, stagnant, or they're going to go up 1 or 2.
They will either be just rounding out the top 10, if not just outside of it. What do you want to bet?
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. I think that I really believe that with the portal that we brought in with the kids yesterday or the day before yesterday, and then, you know, Nico's going to bring in a really top spot there. He's going to bring in people wanting to see, you know, I mean, everybody wants to see this kid. I mean, he was a phenomenal high school player. We paid him $8 million to come out here. So he's going to have to shine big time. You know, I mean, to me, I'm kind of like, hey, is it good that we paid the man $8 million? Is he really going to come out here?
Like, he's what, 18? He's going to have, like, he's got to live up to that. Like, that's pressure for an 18.
Well, and let's, on that topic real quick too. Let's also put that into perspective too. He may have like contractual obligations for $8 million, but we don't know if that's just to get him on campus, if that's throughout his entire time in Knoxville and when he's done. Like we don't know the nature of these deals. It's not so much like the NFL where it's like, here's $100 million contract, we'll guarantee you 30, and then you can kind of break it apart. We just kind of have a lot of speculation.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We really have no idea.
All that being said, though, as far as the money thing goes, I've been going to games since I was 10 or 11, and I've got to rub shoulders with a lot of the big donors over the years at tailgates and whatnot. They don't care what it costs.
Oh yeah, no. You talking about boosters and whatnot? Yeah. They definitely in there.
Well, I think the entire NIL is going through Spire Sports. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I've not done my full research, but I've read a little bit.
They are, and I've seen this from non-Tennessee deals, that they are apparently the most lucrative NIL conglomerate out there. You know, who was our running back that tried to transfer last week? It wasn't Smalls. It was
Right.
So you know, he scrubbed his Twitter, and then the next day it was like, oh hey, there's a new NIL deal. So that's what Spire can do.
Everybody's going to do that now until the bank is dry, and that's going to be annoying. I'm all for the NIL, but I feel like you've got to even it out for all your players, even your second and third and fourth stringers, all the way down to the fourth string goal line. Like, because if you don't, there's not really a possibility that whole issue with Banks wasn't over in NIL, and it would be understandable why it was. But let's move on from that. But I just feel like I am happy about the Nico. I personally don't think that he's going to get a start this year. I really believe in Milton. I think he's going to be that guy for next year, and that's not just bias bullshit spewing out of my mouth. Like if you watch the dude play, you know he can play. I feel like honestly he has all the intangibles to be better than Hendon Hooker. It's figuring out the touch.
He has the intangibles to be better than Cam Newton.
Oh fuck yeah, absolutely.
I'll go on record and say that if he can put it all together.
If he can figure out the touch, and even then though, like he does overthrow a little bit too much, but I feel like honestly, is that really bad? Because when you think about it, quarterbacks are taught to put the ball where only your receiver can catch it.
I would say so. Not last year. Yeah. Last year, the Pittsburgh game that we lost, I would say those overthrows were bad. He should have hit them because they were wide ass open.
Oh yeah,
it should have been 28-0 at the first quarter. But that being said, though, you watch him in this game against Clemson, and really that's what matters is your most recent games.
My issue with him was whenever he bitched out on the run at the end of the Ole Miss game. Yeah. I think it was the Ole Miss game. That was it. That's my only quarrel. Other than that,
and we were so discombobulated from that whole mustard throwing ordeal. It didn't matter what we did that night. But you know, with Milton though, what I'm pulling for him the hardest, he is the anti-college athlete that we've seen in the last few years. Anyone else would have left the year after Hooker was named a starter, but instead he not only says I'm going to stay here, work, get my shot later. He makes the guy that beat him out his best friend.
Yeah, he fully supports the guy. He is the first guy on the sideline to talk to Hendon Hooker as he's coming off from throwing a touchdown bomb. Like it's
every time. It was genuine. It was not faked.
Like if you can watch at the end of the Orange Bowl, he is talking to Hendon Hooker's parents, like talking to him like he's their own son.
So typically your MVP is the one throwing the oranges. He brought Hooker up side by side with him. Like,
Well, he was out there behind Hooker whenever he was.
It's just a great story for him, and
The best story.
yeah, I won't say that there's not a chance that he may not come in and suck next year. I mean, there's always that possibility, but I don't think it's going to happen. And even if it does, he's earned 4 games.
Oh, absolutely. I pray to God he has a Heisman year. I really do. It would be the perfect cap off and make it to the college football playoffs and win it.
If he figures out the touch, NFL scouts are going to be salivating over this kid.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the final AP polls. What were you saying about that, Smokey?
Oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. I got kind of tossed off here. I don't know, man. I think that they got it wrong right now. But again, whenever we have all the recruits in and all the portals shut down, everything's finished and out, I think that we're going to see a totally new top 10. I think that Tulane needs to stay where they're at 9. I do agree with that because yeah, they're at 9th right now. Mm-hmm.
Fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, taking out the Heisman really did a number for them, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that pushed them up a lot. It looked like they moved up about, Jesus Christ, let's see, 5 or 6.
Spots, wasn't it? Yeah,
they were 14th last week. And then you got Washington at number 8. They were number 12 last time. I see them maybe dropping out of the top 10.
Tulane?
But no, Washington. I think Tulane will stay right where they're at. I think Utah will probably stay right. They'll probably drop out of the top 20. They're at number 10 right now. I kind of feel like LSU is going to probably bump up into the top 10, and that's why I think that Tennessee is going to pop up to maybe 5th or 4th, and then I think that LSU is probably going to take like 7 or 8. Maybe somewhere around in there, especially with the recruits that they got coming in. They're highly anticipated to be pretty decent next year, but I still don't think that they're quite there. I think they're on the cusp of being there, but I think that they're slightly behind Tennessee as far as recruits go and things like that. What was that?
Who?
LSU. I think they're slightly behind on Tennessee.
Okay. So here's what I'm.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, especially after we beat them like a stepchild. I mean, we beat them pretty bad. So I don't see that there being any kind of, argument about that. I mean, the only thing I think is that, they went to the SEC championship, and they played Georgia and they got their tail beat. I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah, that was just as bad as.
So I've got a little bit of a different opinion on it. I think they do, or they will, whether it's true or not. That's one thing. I think they will be ranked higher than this come 2023 poll.
Who, LSU?
Yeah, they're 2 spots higher in the recruiting rankings. For this past year. They were West champions. People like Brian Kelly. I don't really care for him personally. That's just me.
No.
I think he's a meaner Butch Jones.
I think he's going to get put in the ground.
Yeah, I mean he's people like him because he's that hard ass. But then it's kind of like if you yell at me, I'm just going to be like, "You're 5'8", dude. Shut up." But that's just me. But I looking through the poll right now, and this is just a personal opinion on 2022 game polls that change after bowl games and whatnot. To me, this entire poll is irrelevant because you're counting wins from bowl games where half of your first round talent sat out. So
I agree.
So if Clemson beat us, like say Clemson beat Tennessee, would anybody have been surprised without having Hyatt or Tillman?
No, I wouldn't have.
We would have never lived it down.
Yeah. Which I'm used to that.
It would have been a completely bigger spectacle if Clemson would have beat Tennessee with our key guys that was out versus theirs, which would have been, and all because of Cade Klubnik being the starter, the new up and comer. So, which is comical, really, but
yeah, I mean, you got like with Tulane. I was anti-Cincinnati all last year. Like, I actually went and watched them play Tulane in New Orleans.
mm-hmm.
That was their worst game that I watched. I'm not a Desmond Ridder fan now. You'd be surprised. I've got 3 or 4 Falcon buddies that just think he walks on water. Like he's your franchise guy.
I don't
see it personally.
No.
But I think Tulane's probably this year's Cincinnati. They'll get some recognition. I think they'll be top 15.
So it's funny you say. So I want to go back real quick to the whole college football playoffs. I was for Cincinnati making it to the playoffs last year because of the record.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from that bullshit, and then whenever TCU became the hype, I'm on record on Facebook for saying they're this year's Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They should not be there. They have no body of work that suggests that they really should have been there. It was evident of that.
I really think with TCU, when they beat Oklahoma like the third week of the year so bad. Now, granted, at that time Oklahoma was what? Like
they had a new coach too, though.
Oh yeah, they had to do everything. The entire team's at USC, in California.
Mm-hmm.
But but when they beat Oklahoma 55-24. The media was like, "Oh, keep an eye on these guys." And then we later learned that Oklahoma sucks.
Yeah. So here's what I think that the final rating should have been. I think TCU should have been bumped to below Tennessee. I believe Michigan probably. Oh my God, it's so hard to choose between Michigan and Ohio State at this point because they both had close losses. You know what I'm saying? But I guess for argument's sake, due to the regular season and everything that played, I feel like Michigan probably should have been 2, Ohio State 3, Tennessee 4, Bama 5, and then maybe TCU sprinkled in there. Now, I will say that for the way too early prediction, I think Clemson is going to find their way somehow into the top 10. It's just how it is. It's like, and Bama's going to be 2 or 3.
You're always going to have. I hate to say it, but you're always going to have Georgia and Alabama. You're going to have Notre Dame.
Ohio State.
You're going to have Michigan.
And Clemson.
And they're going to sneak USC back into 7 or in that top range.
Absolutely.
Well, probably only because Caleb Williams coming back.
I would think they're going to put LSU's the 8th team on there. Penn State's going to be in there as 9.
What's your top 10? What is your way too early prediction top 10? And then I want to hear what Smokey's top 10 would be.
So I think Georgia's got to be number 1 still.
Absolutely.
They're loaded no matter what. They are the new Bama. God help me for saying that. But
not yet. I think they got to win another championship before they even really get there in the next 5 years.
I mean, when I say that, I mean more in terms of
recruiting.
Their whole team can go pro this year and they'll reload. They're that stacked now.
Fair enough.
I
hate hearing those words, but go on.
Oh, trust me, I can taste it in my throat as I'm talking. That's what she said.
Beat me to it.
Georgia, I think. I personally have Bama. Well, I don't know. Bama's got a new quarterback coming in, so that could be interesting.
That might end up putting them at 3.
that could. If Harbaugh stays, Michigan goes to 2.
He's gonna stay real quick.
Do what?
Do you think he'll stay? Just a quick yes no answer.
There's a lot of smoke, so I'm gonna say yes because he likes the attention.
Yeah, but
so Ohio State, I could see Penn State at 4.
really,
I'm sorry, 5. Sorry, I've lost count. I could see USC as high as 6. I could see Penn State staying at 7. I could see Clemson at 8. I could see LSU at 9, and I could see Notre Dame at 10.
So you think it's going to be in the top 10?
I think Tennessee will be around 12 to 15. And I say that because they typically hate us. And I know that sounds like a crying Vols fan, but that's just how it is. That's just how it is.
Yeah. You're right. I'm surprised that they won't be at. I'm surprised that they won't round out the top 25. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I almost want to say that. Like,
well, I mean, it took us like 2 or 3 weeks to get up there, to kind of start moving up an actual good bit to begin with. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, your top 10 is going to be some combination of those regular teams.
It's comical that Tennessee didn't get number 2 after beating Bama. Like, I would have understood if, like, we would have been their second loss, but, like, their first loss after the game that we had, I'm surprised that we did not get to number 2. Like, I think we got, number 3 maybe? Was it 3 or 4?
We did that one, and then we got number 1. Was it the following week with the college football?
Yeah, it was the following one.
And I said it then. I don't post any of my opinions on Facebook anymore, so it gets me in trouble. But I fully believe I fully believe they put Tennessee at 1. That way, if Georgia won, they had a top 5 win.
Yep, that's exactly what my thought was as well.
Well, that way that they could say that they had the primary win. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Yep. My top 10, I would still. I'm going to go pretty quick through this, and then we're going to go to the last segment we got here. I would say that Georgia is definitely staying at top. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
No argument.
I think that Alabama is going to go to number 2, unfortunately. I mean, that's just the way that they are.
I think
that they'll go to number 2. I think that Ohio State will stay at 3. I think Tennessee will be 4, right behind it. And then I think Penn State, Washington, Tulane, and Utah will follow behind. Maybe Michigan will be in there too, but I don't know. The way that TCU got slaughtered against Georgia, they may be a top 6 team. I don't see them being too high up there. But I could be 100% wrong just because the committee loves them. I don't know what it is. They love Michigan and they love Ohio State. So, Kyle's prediction could be just as right as wrong as mine is. It depends on a lot of different factors in there for sure. I got optimism for Tennessee, of course, because I'm a fan, of course. And, I think that they deserve the top 4 in my unbiased opinion and biased. I think that would probably fit the cue for that. And Mr. Happy Hour, let's go ahead and finish up. I've got a hard stop in the next 5 minutes, and then I have got to go. The wife and kid, they're both down there eating food without me, buddy. So let's speed this along and get to the end segment, and I will share my screen to start that end segment out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All righty, guys. So let's look here. This is my way too early prediction. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
All good.
So I've got the Cavaliers coming in here as a win, and Austin Peay, of course. Florida, I've got it as a win. I didn't put by how many or whatnot, but I just think that these top four is going to be a big win. I think that South Carolina is going to be a huge win. Texas A&M, of course, they're on a rebuild. Alabama, I've got it as a toss-up because it is going to be in Alabama. I've got Kentucky as a win, UConn as a win, Missouri win. I've got Georgia as a win too, along with Vanderbilt. I think that's going to be a win. Those are my closing predictions on that. Again, guys, I would like for you guys to all subscribe, hit the bell whenever you guys are watching us on YouTube. I do want to go ahead and give you guys the floor for the time being. I am going to go ahead and jump on out of here, but you guys keep going. I'll just go back and edit it and what I have to do there. But again, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Kyle, nice to meet you. I'd like to have you back on with us. And Mr. Happy Hour, just close us out like normal, okay, bud?
Sir.
Okay, dope.
So what would be your prediction?
So
as long as you got
yeah, no, I mean I'm sitting here having a drink and eating some Burger King, so I'm on whatever time you want to be on.
Absolutely.
I think the entire season will come down to Florida at Florida. Win there, I see us doing pretty good, barring injuries. Two or three injuries can kill us, as we've seen over the years. But Florida, it's a very winnable schedule.
Oh God, yeah.
We don't get those very often.
This might be our easiest schedule that I can ever recall, in the immediate seasons. So I'm right there with you. Let's see here. I'm trying to pull up the
schedule.
Yeah. So, I like to. Okay, let's see here. So I think the Virginia game will be a win. I think Austin Peay.
What is it?
I think you're right about the Florida. With that being in the swamp, and it's probably 9 times out of 10 going to be a 3:30 game, I would be willing to bet. Year 2, I think it'll be just a evenly close to the game as it was this year. But if we can get over that hump for a second straight year, I think the first time in a long time.
I mean, at least since I've been following the game.
Yeah. UTSA, I think that should be a pretty big win. I think the Florida game will be our first close win. South Carolina, I think we're going to end up beating the ever-living shit out of them for payback for costing us the playoffs.
Hey, on a quick timeout on that. I'm not sure if you follow the basketball team or not, but they annihilated South Carolina this past week.
Yeah. So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
And then we have that off. So that's 5. I think we'll go 5-0. I kind of worry about Texas A&M because although that they were the absolute dumpster fire this year and they had so many of their big time prospects from last year's recruitment enter the transfer portal, they still recruit. I don't know how in the hell this guy recruits the way he does. Yeah, Texas A&M is one of the bigger NIL. Okay, true.
Yeah, money.
I think we still win. Yeah, I think we still win that game. I'm with Smoking Line. I think Alabama will be the one toss-up because it will be in Tuscaloosa. And I'm pretty sure they're going to want payback, and because their stadium is, I think, just a 1,000 or so less seats than ours, and that's going to be a packed-out house.
It will be.
So it's
And you know, full disclosure, Missouri gave us all we wanted for a half.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe in them, but you know, that's just throwing that out there. I think A&M will come down to Petrino. Like, how does he adjust back to being the play caller, and how quick does that team pick up
Oh, yeah.
scheme?
Absolutely. I hate to say it, I don't want to, but I think the Alabama game will be our one loss, realistically. I think we can win it. But as of right now, as an early prediction, I'm going to say that it's going to be our first loss.
Right.
I think we're going to end up beating the hell out of Kentucky because we are Kentucky's daddy. I think UConn will be a win. I think Missouri. I want to say real quick. I called South Carolina to be our trap game. I said if we were going to lose any other game outside of Georgia, South Carolina was going to be it. I said that.
Yeah.
But I think we win Missouri. And I honestly think that we beat Georgia this year.
Well, and you know,
Because it's been Knoxville.
I think that's going to be a big factor. They're going to have a new quarterback coming in. You know, I would recommend that Eric Ainge stay off Twitter that week and
Please, for the love of God.
not give anybody any extra ammo that we don't need. But you know, that could be a game. But here's one thing I've noticed about Tennessee and Georgia the last couple of years. Georgia tends to hit their high at about late October, and then they kind of dwindle a little bit. Like that, they're still good. It's just kind of like they just don't connect as well in those later games. Tennessee kind of hits a stride as the longer the year goes, which is why I always hate that Florida is the first 3 or 4 games of the year. If you move Florida to like November, it's a great game.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's not an excuse to lose, but in recent years, they fall apart by October.
I honestly think that South Carolina will probably finish about as strong as they did, if not maybe 1 or 2 more wins than what they did this year.
Yeah.
I think with Beamer, I think Shane Beamer is his name, right? I think him being a first-year coach, I think they needed to just figure out the system, get used to it. And I feel like if Georgia would have played them about the same time that we played them this year, I feel like it probably would have been a lot closer to the game than what their game was early in the year.
It made me feel a little bit better that they beat Clemson, but Clemson wasn't good this year either.
No, they weren't. I feel like they were still a top 10 team, arguably. You could, I mean, looking at the rankings now.
I mean, my unpopular opinion is that when you hit about 7 or 8, you could drop as low as 15, and they're kind of in the same category.
Sure, I agree.
Like I say at least within 1 to 2 wins.
I agree. Yeah. So I think that we will lose to Bama next year, and I think it will probably be by a field goal or a touchdown. Because because of what they are losing,
Right.
And I work with a lot of Bama fans, so you have no idea the joy that I got to strut in that motherfucking building with my head held high and said, "Row Tears Row." So,
Right.
I think we will absolutely boat race the ever-living shit out of Vanderbilt as well.
Yeah.
I do not see us not making the college. I mean, you're gonna have like 4 or 5 other teams that are undefeated for Tennessee.
We're starting the expanded playoff this year or next?
No, next year. My understanding it will be after this coming up season.
Okay.
I would like for it to. Yeah,
man. If that happened this year,
if it happened this year, I kind of would have been a little bit happier. But when you actually got to think about it, it's like, what do you think about it? Are you for it or are you against it?
So I kind of like 4 for college, My only kicker on college football is that to get to that top 4, you have to play politics so hard. And, it's not like the NFL where the Jacksonville Jaguars can be in the playoffs and
That's
division winners. I'm still pissed about that one.
I am too.
But at least in the pros, it's based 1,000% win-loss. Here's your 19 tiebreakers if it hits. And in this one, that's my only kicker is like you have a committee of people who are sitting here BSing like me and you are right now. And they're like, I like Team A. I like Team B. Who has more money? Team B. Team B should go in.
See, and that's crazy how that they decide that because of that.
Yeah. But I mean that's the system we got, and for college sports, I don't see it going away because unlike the NFL, you can't really do a strictly divisional schedule and actually make it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they are still college kids. Like you got to keep that in mind. We can't ask them to go out and play 18, 19 games.
Right.
in a semester, but yeah, it's just that's just a opinion.
No, I 100% agree. I'm trying to find what I've seen before about the whole college football playoff criteria. So when circumstances at the margin indicate the teams are comparable, then the following criteria must be considered: championships won, strength of schedule, head-to-head competition, if occurred, and we have a guest.
I wasn't sure who that was.
Feel free to join in. And then comparative outcomes of common opponents without inciting margin of victory. So I've heard where that criteria is not what they actually go by, is I guess to pacify people, to give a lot of people an answer as to what they go, how they decide their choices. But when you think about it, that's really what they should go by. And then again, let's go back to how the overall rankings happened. Again, if we're looking at this, explain to me, outside of the championships won, who had the better strength of schedule, who had the better head-to-head competition, and the comparative outcomes of common opponents. You can even argue that with just Alabama. Sorry.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, if you're comparing just head-to-heads, that's Tennessee. But as bad as I hate to say it this way, and it's not fair, but I think it plays a factor. Your Bamas, your Georgias, your Michigans, your Ohio States, they've been there multiple times.
Mm-hmm. But that's not the same thing. That's
It's not a fair comparison at all. But
it's not.
In the eyes of the people, they're like, oh, well, they have to be in.
But then that just means that is broken then, right?
I think so. Now and that's kind of the kicker here too, where the expanded playoffs, you can get more teams in because we never really compare teams 7 and 8 to 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
But we do compare 5 and 6, and we compare them for years to come.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, I mean, 8's the number they liked. There's going to be a lot of upsets in there, which is great.
I mean, I like Tennessee's chances with just the 12-team playoffs. So, they do it.
In my eyes, we won the first actual national championship. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a broken system, but it's the system we got. It's like any other system in the world without bringing politics into the world. But yeah, it's just what we got. But it's kind of like the Heisman. to an extent.
Get
Like,
back on, get balls, boys.
woo! It's like the Heisman no, because who really. From what I understand, the people that vote on that, most of them don't even watch football.
No,
So,
they don't. Well, I mean, it's been evident that they don't.
yeah.
That's why TCU made it to the playoffs. So, I find it comical, really. Again, and I don't know. It's one of those things that, as a fan of a specific team, it's a hard pill to swallow because you have to sit there and know that your team's not going to. I agree that if you're going to utilize the host South Carolina loss against us, fine, but then don't be double standard when Ohio State loses in the same fashion at their own home turf. I mean, at least Tennessee could say like they were on the road when they lost that game.
Yeah.
And there was shit happening behind the scenes that all accumulated to that loss. Like, still though, you got to show up, you got to handle your business. I get that, I agree with that. But then when it comes down to it, even with that loss, Tennessee's body of work still outshined the majority of the other teams. There's no logical evidence to the contrary.
It did. I mean, and I just fall back on, we gave them reason to doubt, and I mean, I agree that something was wrong behind the scenes, but it's like for example, I've had some family stuff going on this week, and if I come in to my work and I'm just not feeling it today, not up to my best performance.
Your quality of work is going to dwindle.
It suffers, and as bad as you hate to say it, the people above you, like, hey, sorry you're having a bad day, but in the immortal words of Pat Summitt, suck it up, Buttercup.
Right. I mean, I agree, but I still think that Tennessee should have showed up, took care of business. I agree with that. But there is just so much double standard to it all.
Yeah.
I am curious, though. Let's just kind of veer away from, the beating the dead horse to death. What was your absolute, as a Tennessee fan, what was your absolute worst loss?
Worst loss?
Your worst loss?
I want to say it was Wyoming in homecoming. That was Philip Former's last year. Hang on just a second.
2000.
2008, I believe.
Was it 2000? What? Okay, yeah, true.
Hang on. I want to say it was Wyoming. It was my first year getting to go to games, like after we graduated high school and everything. And, I'm like, all right, I got my own tickets and everything. And we sucked. It was so bad. Yeah, it was Wyoming because he was fired that weekend. We lost 13-7 to Wyoming at homecoming.
That was a terrible one.
There were that year, and I remember the stat because it stuck out of like 132 or 34 teams ranked at the time or being kept up with. We were 132 on offense, and Wyoming was 133. So we went into it thinking, okay, we should win this one. Crompton can't suck that bad. And sure enough, he sucked that bad.
He did.
That one and my only other one, I say only other ones, that there hasn't been a countless list of shit in our lives.
It's been a terrible 1.5 to 2 decades.
I don't know about you. I feel like my entire childhood was a lie. After 07 or so.
The bad syndrome, I get it.
Yeah, I remember watching. All the Peyton years and the T. Martins and the Schulers and everything. I'm like, cool. I'm like, I get Crompton. But the LSU game with Derek Dooley, when I think we talked about this when LSU was playing. I think when we won, we stopped them. I mean, they fumbled. We stopped them at the goal line. And we won the game. And then Derek Dooley was so committed to stop the run that he put 13 players in the field. not 12 guys. He put 13 out there. So make sure you stop him, and we did. But if you line up at a half-yard line, you can't really stop him too well.
No. So, all right. What about the best win outside of the '98 national championship?
Yeah. That one obviously takes the cake. Bama this year was big, but I really think for me, the Florida game in 2016, when we won for the first time in like 15 years, on there, that was big. I was there, so it meant more. And I had a buddy of mine that's a Florida fan. You also know him. He came with me, and remember Tyson?
Oh yeah.
So he's there, and first half they're up. They're up 3 scores at half, and I'm sitting here like, oh, I've been here before. We suck again. Whatever. He's jawing and having his fun with the people around him, and 16's not so bad, and all this. And second half, we come alive. Jawan burns Tabor, and it's a boat race from there. But I look over about the fourth quarter, and he is hunkered down, like in the fetal position. And he looks up at me and is like, how are your ears not hurting? It's so loud in this stadium. And I'm like, this is Tennessee. We're used to it.
Yeah, and I'm the benefactor of it all.
Yeah. I've heard it as loud as any stadium I've ever been in, and I've heard it quiet as church mice.
Favorite VFL.
Ooh, let's see.
This is an interview. FYI.
Eric Berry is probably the one that sticks out to me the most. Obviously, there's always the obvious like Paytons and Wittens and guys like that. I like Meacham. Dobbs was a big one for me.
Dobbs is probably my number one.
Yeah, and we've had some great guys, man. We have, even. And, if you don't follow the pros as much, I don't think people realize, while our draft picks haven't been, we went through a drought there with the Butch years and the Dooley times.
Oh, yeah.
But we still put kids in the pros.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I don't mean that we put them on practice squads. I mean, they were starting caliber players.
Did you know that I want to say it might have been the Falcon versus Saints game this year. We had about 4 Tennessee Volunteers playing in that game.
I did.
Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Cordell Patterson, and then
Shy Tuttle, Marquez Callaway. You had Taylor, Alontae Taylor. He was out there. So Titans are my AFC team. Saints are my NFC team. So I well follow the Saints roster, and they love Tennessee guys, which is honest to God. I think there's a good shot they draft Hooker in the second round this year.
You think so?
I mean, it depends on what they do. They're a fustercluck right now as it is, but you don't really know what they're going to do. But he to me, he'd be a great guy just to sit and learn from somebody. And
I think so. Absolutely. I kind of hope the Falcons get him.
I'm curious what you guys do, because there's a lot of money coming up, and I've tried to tell my Falcon fan buddies, like, the past couple of years, like, don't put too much stock into this. You're at that goal where you're just trying to get all the bad contracts off and get some money, and you got that this year. I'm an Arthur Smith believer.
He's questioning my patience right now, to be honest with you. But it is me too.
But I would ask you this though: pull up that roster on paper and put it. Even in a Madden game, you'd struggle.
What's up?
Dang, boys, y'all still on here?
Man, all night long.
I got you. You
full?
Oh yeah, I'm full, buddy.
about to go soak my feet in some salt water.
Hell yeah.
Rub it in.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Well, did everybody? I mean, we kind of got cut off there. Everybody talked about the early predictions, I would think.
Oh yeah, a little bit more.
Okay. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. Guys, it's been a pleasure, coming out here, being on here with everybody. Kyle, spread the word for us, man. Unfortunately, guys, my computer unclicked like right in the middle, and I got everything on record, but it's going to be a 2-part. It's going to be 1 part and then 2-part on the last 45 minutes or so. But yeah, it's I can see the recording time. We're right now at 43:21. The first one, I believe, was about 25 minutes or so. So we've been on here for about an hour and 15 minutes.
Shit.
Wow.
But hey, that is totally fine. Totally fine. We hit a streak here, and you guys were chatting it up. And look, I think I saw that we had a guest in here too, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if they were like another fan or what. Like I don't know.
They did say
They did say go Vols, but they almost sounded like a clown to me.
Clown. I have to watch that and get a listen.
It sounded like
I don't even know, man. That was something else right there. But Kyle, I want to say thanks, man, for coming on. We would love to have you again.
Yeah. Just whenever you guys need somebody, just give me a call.
Absolutely. I will be editing this and putting things in perspective tonight and, kind of lining everything up. It might be a little bit later. But, Kyle, if you would, buddy, are you on the Go Big Orange Talk fan page?
Probably not. I'm typically just on the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that.
Hey, Mr. Happy Hour, when we get done here, give Kyle my information, send it over to him, and Kyle, give me a Facebook ad there, bud, and we'll keep in contact with you. And guys, again, at this ending segment here and at the end of our pod tonight, I just again want to tell you guys to like, subscribe, share on any platforms that you may be on, and if you're listening to us on the YouTube, click that little bell there, and that bell will give you notifications every time Go Big Orange Talk pops up off. And again, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with everybody, and I want to say real quick, go Vols, baby! Y'all have a good night, boys.
See you guys.